always say to each other, if I'm jealous of and angry when I see his cut, then that's the greatest thing, because yes, I won't speak to him for a while, but it just means that
that's her gift to me. No, I'm kidding. We always go in and we think like, secretly, I'm going to come up with a shot or something that's going to make the other person jealous. Like, it's going to be like, I'm going to now watch this in the editing room, because we don't always know what the other person's doing. So, very first day of shooting the very first episode that Amy was directing, there was this shot of tap dancers in the USO show, and the camera flies back on like a rope, and I already lost. It's like it was the first shot of the day, and it's like, I can't beat that. So the whole season 3 for me was ruined already because you had already won.
So this goes to my first question. What's the secret of your partnership? More importantly. What if
separate bathrooms?
Separate?
I don't know. It's just, it kind of works. It kind of mind melody, shorthand.
I think from the very beginning, our writing styles of what we liked were similar. They're not identical, but they were similar enough. And we developed a shorthand over the many, many years of figuring
out how to solve debates on creative issues, and
the ghost has arrived.
The ghost is here. Solving those debates and figuring out how to we're in the story room together. That's when we spend the most time together. A lot of our working is separate because she's directing, I'm in the editing bay, or I'm in the writer's room and she's in the editing. So we do a lot of things separate, but the stuff we do together, we've just sort of developed a shorthand. We don't overthink things. We don't, we if we like something, we stick to it.
Yeah.
And you sit 12 inches apart.
You sit 12 inches apart at all times.
Excellent. And,
yes.
And what is the secret formula of a Palladino series?
One they pick up. I don't know. I don't know that there is. It's just when the stars align at a certain time, and everything sort of works, and the people in corporate are distracted with some other disaster, and they forget to not put you on the air. And then one day they notice, and they're like, "Wait a minute, is it too? It's too late." So, I think we're very character driven. We're very much about the people, and we like our chick smart. Kind of important. Yeah, I mean, come on.
Shout out on that one.
You can wear great lipstick and still be smart too. And I just think it's very important to us that the characters are fun, and that they're very fleshed out, and they're very sort of human, and villains are not complete villains, and good guys are not complete good guys, and there's good music. I think that's a key to everything we do. And they got to talk fast because we're all dying, so we don't have time. We just don't have time to have 14 shots of you looking. Just order the coffee and get the fuck out.
Well, you certainly raised the bar. Get it? Sorry.
I
was rehearsing my material backstage. It works better in writing, but you got it. Anyway, well, you certainly raised the bar on this one, setting up a huge challenge for yourself, going 2 continents, 2 languages. How did you accomplish that?
Well, there's planes.
This is true.
We wanted somebody to pay for us to live in Paris for a while, so that's where you start. Thank you. It was, the weird thing is, it wasn't so much that I will say the hardest parts were figuring out how to have a dance company in New York and a dance company in Paris on the level of the quality of dancers that we wanted, that were available to us the entire time, so that they were also people and humans, because the show is about them. The show is, so it was very important to us that the dancers weren't like window dressing and we're all walking by them and they're all stretching up against a wall and that's all that they are, because this needed to be their story. So assembling the pieces was really hard. Once the pieces were assembled, it wasn't quite as difficult. The translations were hard. We write it in English. They say it in French. You got to have somebody turn the English into French.
Our English too.
Yeah.
Which
And
is it's
a master's degree.
Not easy.
Very. That was many layers and many translators, because every time we translated it once, one of the French actors would come up to us and say, "Oh no, this is not what you want. You won't be happy." So we would get a new translator, and then a different French actor would come up to us and say, "No, that's so bad. You're like really not going to be happy." And it happened like 3 or 4 times. We finally landed on somebody like really great, and so it's once the pieces were in place, then you just let great people do their work.
Speaking of great people, you've got a great crew that you've worked with for so many years.
The best crew. The best. They're the best. Sorry, the best.
What shorthand did that give you? I mean, you've worked with them through so many shows. What comfort did that give you in putting this show together?
A lot. We had our camera operator. We had our DPs that we worked with on Maisel. We had wardrobe. We had sets. Bill Groom, our set designer for our set builder.
I call Harry Potter because I think he's a magician.
Yeah, for Maisel, he built that giant Paris studio that you see that Cheyenne danced that angry dance in. That's a set that was built, and it's you see it a lot more later too. So look at it. But
look at it.
Yeah, so look at it,
and then we'll tell you how much it cost.
Yeah.
We'll send you the bill.
Running total.
We'll crowdfund it later.
Yeah, but that was really essential, because everyone who has entered a new production of some sort, if you're starting with all new people, you have all these people you have to get to know, assess their value. 1 or 2 probably are not working out. You have to make a change. We didn't have to go through any of that. So we had our family with us. We went right into it. So I think that was the only way we could really pull it off, because like Amy was saying, with all the dancers we needed on both sides, all of the logistics of figuring out how to break these stories so that they're balanced enough between the States and France, and so that the audience is still interested in following. And that was tough enough without going in without all our great people that we knew.
Could you have made it more complicated for yourselves?
No. No, we made it as complicated as we possibly could. But I don't know, if you're
we
not,
knew
if you're
it was
not working
doable.
a little bit outside of your comfort zone, it sort of feels like, what's the point? It's we wanted to try something hard, and it was sort of one of those, like, it's either going to really work out and we're going to be very proud of it, or it's going to be like it's going to blow up. Like, it was never going to be like, it was okay. Like, it's either going to be like we're really happy, or we're just really sad, and there's a lot of pills and drinking and crying.
And I think you landed on happy.
Yeah, there's still pills and drinking and crying, but we're still happy with the show.
Well, take me back to the beginning, to the origin of the
Such a
idea.
great role model you are, Amy.
I am.
Your
Don't
honesty
do
is
drugs,
refreshing.
kids, unless you're in show business.
But going back to the beginning, I know you wanted to revisit the world of bunheads, which you felt like had been incomplete. Exactly. Thank you.
I hold grudges.
What was it about the world of dance that you wanted to finish that story with?
Well, if you've ever hung out with dancers, they're quite fascinating creatures. They're it's the only art form where you are literally guaranteed to never make any money, and you have to start at an incredibly early age. Your whole life is devoted to training for something that could be over by 25. And meanwhile, you've never had a normal anything, and you've missed out on your childhood. You haven't been a cheerleader. It's like nothing. And then suddenly, you're like, oh, and I'm teaching Pilates. So it's a very, they're very pure. Like, they love the art form, and they're completely and utterly devoted to it. And they're weird, and they're like, and I mean that like in a great way. They're kind of like, it's very culty, and they're kind of like puppies, and they're always hanging on each other and rolling around on the floor, and there's so many push-ups. Like, I didn't know there were that many different ways
Weird
to do
variations
push-ups.
on push-ups that the guys would do.
Yeah, and then they would do like group push-up things where they would like push up and then like reach across and like high five. It's like, what are you doing? It's like, there's an energy and a it's so easy to be cynical and so easy to be like, on Maisel we had roast beef for lunch. And you're turning around and these people are just like, they're so focused and they just want the work to be great. And that can kind of bring you back to really what you're supposed to be doing and why you're in this business in the first place, which it's really about the work. It's not about the bullshit. So just hanging in that space is kind of amazing. And I just love dance. I grew up was supposed to be a dancer. It didn't happen. But I get to be dance adjacent now and pretend to my mother that all the money, I didn't become a dancer, but look what happened. Like, that's what you paid for. So, and then Dan likes dance too.
Well, I married an ex-dancer.
You did.
So,
did?
yeah.
Oh.
I did, yeah.
Oh. And then how did you go about building the world around dance? I know you've called this a workplace comedy. So how did you marry those two ideas of dance and the workplace comedy?
I mean, we toyed with the characters for a long time, for like a year, because we were developing this while we were doing the last year or even two of Maisel. And originally, actually, we had everything reversed. We had the angry ballerina that is Cheyenne in this pilot was going to be American that went over to France. We actually did everything in reverse, and then we thought, what if we reverse it? We had enough time to really think about those things, and it made more sense to reverse it. I mean, we always start with the characters. Like, that's the most important thing. And we wanted each one to be very, very specific, each one of our 8 or 9 who are kind of our regulars, to be very, very specific. And we talked a lot about looking ahead, how they would bounce off of each other. We talked storylines in the future, even before we even write the pilot, just to make sure that there's enough synergy and bouncing off each other. So it's how we approach everything. So we weren't thinking of them so much as dancers at that point. They were just people. This is about people pursuing an art form, or we even compared them to athletes. It was sort of about, this is kind of akin to Ballers, probably. I think that was about basketball. What was Ballers about? Football? Football. Yeah, so it's kind of like, because we don't want people to, I don't like dance, so I'm not going to like this show. This is about the people, so it is a show about the characters and the workplace and the conflicts and the resolutions and all that stuff, and it just happens to be about the art form of ballet.
And then how did you make sure that the world of ballet felt accessible to everybody, that it didn't feel like too hoity-toity?
Well, I think when you really see them, they're constantly in training. They're athletes. They're not sitting there talking about Flaubert said. It's like I've never not one of them mentioned Flaubert the entire time we were there. So they're just. I think when you see them in their natural habitat, in their natural environment, you kind of get. It's like they're in training, and it's like anything else. They want to get to the top. They want to be the best. They want this dream that they've harbored for so long to happen. And it's a shame when people cut themselves off and think I need a tux and a monocle to go see ballet. Because ballet is, if you like storytelling, that's ballet. If you like music, that's ballet. If you like physicality, that's ballet. It's silent movies. It's everything that any other sort of thing that you could be interested in. It's just that it got sort of painted into this very sort of corner of it's all tutus. We have actually very few tutus in our show. If you go through our show, we've got some, we got the required amount of tutus, but it's really about the dance because the dance.
No monocles.
No monocles. There's no monocles. But the dance has to feed the story. Mm-hmm. So the show doesn't stop for a dance. It's not you're watching a story and now here's Swan Lake. It's like every time we put dance in, we put it to sort of move the narrative along. So there's a reason. There's an emotion it's tied to Tobias's, first ballet, which has an emotional resonance, and it pushes his relationship with Gabon along. Or
Cheyenne's Angry Dance.
Cheyenne's Angry Dance, which is, her frustration that she's now in her mind being like sort of tossed away, like she has no control over her own destiny, which is the thing that makes her most crazy. So I think by incorporating it into a narrative, I think it makes it easier for people, so they're not like, oh God, now we got to wait for the feathers. It's like, oh, we get that. I know why that's happening. It's pushing me into a different place.
And the character, well said. Thank you.
No, really.
And also the characters also have very real personal lives. Like Jack, who does not dance, is dealing with some real personal issues.
Don't let Luke Kirby hear you that.
Okay, sorry, Luke.
No, he doesn't dance, but he runs a lot.
He does run. He runs around the circle. He runs outside. He runs around Lincoln Center. There's lots of running. There's so much running for Jack. But you give the characters rich personal lives that they're dealing with too, and that's another way that makes the show very accessible.
Well, there was a documentary by Frederick Weissman that was called Ballet, and it's really interesting because it followed ABT their season, a season of it, and you really saw a lot of the behind the scenes. You saw, because you have the ballet, but you also have these like cutthroat New Yorkers, in the back room, screaming into the phone because somebody double booked a repertoire, and it's like there's a whole world behind it trying to keep this art form alive. So we wanted to bring that into it as much as just the dancers and oh, my tight smell. That's a given. But because we're in a time where arts are they're under siege. They just really are. Anything that is special like this, it can go away. It can be taken away, and people can lose it. And some people know that, and they fight really hard to keep it going. And those are as important to this show as the actual dancers are to us.
So we've talked about how you built the world and built the characters. How did you go about casting the show? I know you always had Luke in mind for this.
Yeah, we had Luke in mind. Gideon Glick, who plays Tobias, was an actor we had worked with on Maisel. We loved him, and he wanted to be a writer in addition to being an actor. And he's a very good writer. And we hired him on the staff, and then we finally just said, "Do you want to play this part?" We kept looking at him while we were breaking the stories.
You tortured him.
When we talked about Tobias, we would look at him, and he was like looking at us because we were picturing him, but we didn't tell him. So we finally said, do you want the part? And he said yes. But otherwise, Charlotte read the script and contacted us and just really wanted to do it. Brave girl, this is a lot to take on for, she speaks her English is very, very good. She had the French father, Serge Gainsbourg. She had the British mother, Jane Birkin. And, but this was a real challenge for her. She just tore into it, man. She's incredible.
Charlotte's never really done comedy. Charlotte does drama, and like heavy, weird drama too. Like, just like really like, okay, I don't see how that works.
If your director's first name is Lars, the movie's not going to be funny.
Yeah.
That's just
very few laughs.
That's the bottom line.
Super low laughs.
So you didn't hire Lars?
No. But she wanted to do it, and she wanted to jump in, and she wanted to try it, and she's amazing. She's amazing, and she's like weirdly, it's like she's a natural physical comedian, and I don't even think she knew, what she was, but she was just sort of a gamer, and they all were, and she's just a delightful and the coolest person in the world.
She's pretty
like she's so cool, and you kind of like. Just don't buy a trench coat and stand near Charlotte Gainsbourg, because she just looks like just with this, and she's in the hat and the
we got to have a dinner with her, and she suggested a restaurant. So we're sitting in this restaurant in Paris, and the maitre d', it's a kind of a fancy restaurant. Maitre d' comes up and goes, "Sir, the phone is for you." I go, "Oh, the phone, okay." So I pick it up, and it's Charlotte's assistant saying, "Charlotte's going to be a little late." So everyone's looking at us like, who are these people that had a phone call in the restaurant? Then we were sitting there.
Like it's Lucy, I Love Lucy.
Then we were still waiting, and weirdly the phone rang, and I didn't know what to do with it. It's ringing at our table. Someone got it. But then when Charlotte walked in, everyone's like, oh, these people are with Charlotte.
Yeah, like like Princess Diana.
Yeah, it's like you're walking with a member of the royalty when you're there. Like she's got this Serge Gainsbourg museum now, which is incredible, that everyone should go to, which is her father's last apartment that he had for 20 years, and it's frozen in time. He's got all his pianos and his Wurlitzer and his all this
Medals.
stuff.
He likes medals.
But she's remarkable. And then lastly, Lou Delage, who plays Cheyenne, is a young French actress who had never done an English language movie. Kind of speaks English better than she thinks, but really does not. And
which we realized every time we tried to give her direction, and she would just sort of let us talk, and then you just sort of saw. Just the eyes glaze over, and she's just waiting for us to stop talking so she can just go try something else.
But she was just, we got tapes of actresses, and she popped out. I mean, it was a great list of ladies, and she just popped out. And so we brought her in, we met her, and she's incredible.
How did the famous Palladino fast talking translate to getting Lou and
They
Charlotte
talk.
getting to talk
the
fast?
French
talk so fast.
They talk so fast.
They blow past periods. You give them 3 sentences, and they'll do one. It's like Bugs Bunny, like that whole thing that they did about translating stuff. It's like they blow through, and we're turning to our script supervisor, who's French, and saying, "Did they say all the words? Yes. Did it make sense? Yes. Was that one part funny? Yes." It's like, okay, I get, like.
Yeah, there was a lot of trust.
It's just this spew of sound. And it's pretty remarkable. We had to tell him to slow down a couple of times.
Slow down.
Yes, I
That's
know.
no.
Because
a direction you've never given.
We wouldn't be able to put the subtitles up to match. By the time the subtitles were up, their line was over and 4 other people have talked, and it was just like we just had to sort of figure out okay, it was just a very they talk fast, and I love them for that.
Amazing. I want to give you a chance to compliment each other's directing. So, I know. Amy, do you have something nice to say about Dan and his
Nothing.
directing?
Not a thing. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because I think we're more similar as writers than directors. We have very different methods. Like, he's got a system.
I'm pure
and I
von
don't.
Stroheim.
Yes.
All the way. And a little bit of Lars.
You're no Lars. But I will say, I'm a little bit more and then I sort of work it from the outside in, and Dan is a lot more organized and a lot more, he comes up with these great, big concepts, and you haven't seen it, but in 7, there's a whole thing where there's a Nutcracker thing that goes on, and the way that the construction of the way the Nutcracker is playing on stage versus what's happening off stage was a very pre-planned, very systematic. It's very, very incredibly effective and really smart. And the great thing about Dan is, even though he's not a dancer, he's a musician, so he still thinks musically when he directs. So it's not like suddenly, because I think sometimes it's hard to direct dancing if you don't have that musicality in you, because it just feels like it's not as simple as just and you've got a master and then you'll get their face because the dance is a whole story and a whole movement. And do you want to incorporate the backstage? Are you looking at the orchestra? Whose point of view are you shooting the dance from? What do you want the audience to feel? Are they a part of it, or are they sitting back? And I mean, I don't think you would know that he was a non-dancer from the way that he shoots all that together. He's we always say to each other, if I'm jealous of and angry when I see his cut, then that's the greatest thing, because yes, I won't speak to him for a while, but it just means that
That's her gift to me. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
See, I was saying nice. No.
Please let me touch your shoulder.
Okay. So anyhow, I'm gonna leave that there. Anyhow, so that's that. No.
Dan,
That's it. I said my nice things about you, and you.
Dan,
I'm
would you
going
like
to say that,
return
but
the compliment?
speaking of music, Robbie Krieger is playing the Whiskey a Go-Go tonight from The Doors. What is it, 1968? And
Why are you?
it's like a
frowning?
time.
That's a good thing.
No, it's a good thing, but it's just he wrote "Light My Fire." Anyway, it was just weird to see Robbie Krieger. It's like, is this a movie? No, he's really playing. So Yeah, I mean, when Amy's talking about the competition thing, I remember going into season 3? Like, we always go in and we think, like, secretly, I'm going to come up with a shot or something that's going to make the other person jealous.
Yeah.
Like, it's going to be like, I'm going to now watch this in the editing room, because we don't always know what we're doing. So we went into season 3. We don't always know
That's our system.
We don't always know what the other person's doing. So the first thing was this USO thing. And on the very first day of shooting the very first episode that Amy was directing, there was this shot of tap dancers in the USO show, and the camera flies back on like a rope, and I already lost. It's like it was the first shot of the day, and it's like I can't beat that. So the whole season 3 for me was ruined already because you had already won. I she'd already won. It's that first. It's that you'll see it. It's that shot, and it's like, damn it! I'm not going to be able to do it. But yeah, I mean, Amy, Amy directed the pilot of Maisel, and at the end of like when we were shooting the pilot, and at the end, like I knew that, like I think I said to you, we finally achieved what we've been going after. Like on Gilmore Girls, we love Gilmore Girls. But we never had we could never have the fun and get shots and do things.
We had no money on
we had
like literally we were in Burbank.
Yeah.
It
was a time issue. If we wanted to get a crane, our producer made it seem like we had to break into Fort Knox to get a crane. We find out later it's like $3,000 to have a crane, but basically like Amy has an instinct for the material. And I think what's important for people who write and direct their own stuff is that you don't let the directing affect the writing too much. Like, you don't want to, like, if you come up with a bunch of sequences as a director while you're writing, it can feel, you could lose the character. But at the same time, if you don't think visually, then visually it may not be good enough. You have to sort of think of it as a director. So Amy's great at that. She has her oneers. And she tries much more difficult oneers than I do, and they're extremely successful. And a lot of times you don't know that they're oneers. So I think that's kind of the key to a great oneer to me, because they're very much in vogue right now. Mm-hmm. But yeah, to me, a great oneer to me is when you realize later that that was just in one shot. Like, and that's the ones that we like, the ones that you don't really. No, so it doesn't become like you're doing it because it's one shot.
Yeah, you're not watching the trick. You're watching.
There should
scene.
be a perfect melding between writing and directing if you're doing a oneer, so that the material is justifying that it's one shot. So and she's been kind of the king and queen of that.
Well, wasn't that nice?
I could go on and on.
Please do.
Anything to let me touch your shoulder.
Dole it out.
You broached the 12 inches. I love it. So we do have to, unfortunately, wrap it up, but I'll let you leave with one question as you look back over.
Yeah, we're all going to Robbie Krieger, right?
Right, exactly.
Light my fire.
Is there one moment that you're proudest of over the course of the season?
I'm really proud we got that boat thing
to work, because
that
boat thing was
I've never done anything like that before.
And like, that's an example. That boat thing was one shot. Amy didn't go into it. We didn't go into it thinking, well, this is one shot thing. But it was, it's a boat. It's a fake boat on a tank, and our doors were just wide enough. This is where, like, having our same camera operator and our same DP really worked, that they can give us all these suggestions and say, I can shoot through the window here. That'll allow me to get around, get in, because there's so many logistics to doing a shot like that. That just naturally kind of laid out as like, just do it in one shot. You don't need, because you're supposed to be like a person on that boat. So that camera felt like you were a person trying to keep up with Cheyenne. So yeah, that was a good one.
And just in general, I'm actually really pleased with how the dancing with our dance doubles and our actors, the melding of the two. I think it turned out really well, and I think that dance-wise we achieved what we wanted to do, because it would have been a bummer to like come away with like, yeah, the show's good, but the dance, it's all right, So I'm very pleased with that.
I don't have anything new to add. I mean, the whole thing was was really difficult, really fun, logistically really tricky. But I think we pulled it off. I think the show got. I think our last 2 episodes are 2 really great episodes. We knew where they were going to land, so we're very proud of it. And we hope you guys, if you haven't watched it all, watch it, and if you've watched it, watch it again.
And then buy a lot of toilet paper, because that's the only way we're going to get a season 2. We need toilet paper sales to go up. That's very important. Just a lot of toilet
paper. And we'll
paper.
be keeping track.
Yeah.
All right?
We're secretly
we
watching.
got all your information, everyone's email, and we do have that information.
Well, thank you so much. It's been a delight. Thank you all so much for coming.
Yeah,
and
thank you for coming on a Thursday, everybody. Thank you.
And please go home and watch the rest of Étoile.
And thank you, Deb.
Thank you very much.